Live on YouTube. How are you today?
Awesome, Ken. Great to see you, my friend. Life is good given all the crazy in the world, and I'm very, very excited for today's show. This is going to be epic.
So, we're running some new experiments today. Everybody who's been watching faithfully, I know, every single episode for 2 seasons,
Good morning,
they're
everybody.
going to see our new two-up mode here. The reason for this is that, well, we're always trying out new things and we're thinking about production quality and value, but more importantly, we're thinking about a future where we start to bring in guests. And so you can imagine having a two up, a three up, a four up, and having other folks on the show that we can talk to. I'm excited about that.
Absolutely. So, welcome again to Digitized Live in terms of unlocking your digital potential. This is season 2, episode 4.
Four.
Episode 3? No,
No,
episode
no,
3?
this is
Is
four.
that episode 4? We're just firing through. This is so exciting. And one of the big things, as you know, Kent and I were just speaking before we were going live about what is happening at a rapid rate is the digitization of our world. Now more so than ever. We've been talking about a forcing function, over several weeks, and please continue to go back and look at all of the powerful content that's on this YouTube page in season 1 and the first episodes of season 2. You'll actually see the progression, and you'll also see how certain things have changed and conditions have been changing live and in real time in the things we've been discussing, and how to manage and lean into digitizing your life and your business and your world, and also how to embrace a digitization of the world. And so one of the things we were chatting about was just going deep as we kick off this morning on some of the things that we've been seeing. So as Ken, beautifully said, think of this as your digitized TV station where we're bringing you the latest news on what's going on. And then what we thought
Digitized
is too,
Live. Digitized Live.
Digitized
Yeah,
Live,
that's the name
Digitized
of
Live.
it.
Kental that had a great suggestion. One of the things that we've been getting the most feedback on, apart from just the discussions and the mental framing, like the mindset around digitization, has also been the tools. The tools. How do I do this? What is the right thing to use? And so Kent's got a great surprise. We're going to be experimenting with another tool and actually doing that live. So welcome again to Digitized Live. Unlock your digital potential. Let's dive straight in. Kent, the world is being digitized.
It is
What is the
indeed.
breaking news? What's the
Oh,
breaking news on this
gosh.
one?
Well, it is indeed. Before we go there, I need to do one thing. We always are starting our stream on YouTube. YouTube is our primary channel. It We're gaining subscribers every
Just
week,
the
Kyle, which
tools.
is
The
super
tools.
exciting. And most importantly, though, it really helps us if you click that little like button wherever it is over here, and the subscribe button, or share this out. It really does make an enormous difference from a channel perspective. But we also have started a new process where during the stream we're going live in other channels. So we start with YouTube and then we go live on other channels. So without further ado, first I'm going to take us live on today 3 more channels. So uh, with that, I want to say hello Twitch. We are live now on Twitch. Kyle, say hi.
Greetings, Twitch.
All
Welcome
right.
to Digitized Live.
All right. Hello. And hang on. Unless something breaks, we're going to go to one more. Here it comes. Come on now. Okay. Hello. Oh, nope. We're not going live on Facebook today. It's not cooperating. We're going to go to Twitter next. So here comes Twitter. Yes. Hello, Twitter. We've been getting some good people, some good viewership on Twitter, Kyle. So it's really awesome to go live on Periscope with Twitter each week. So we're now
Awesome.
live on Twitch, on Twitter, and on YouTube. So we can get back to the main theme. And you asked me kind of, as I said, this is a live show. So we think that one of the best services we can bring is what have we observed over the last since the last show. And, for me, two really big things have happened. And they're both in certain ways a little bit personal, but the first one I'll say is I'll have to anonymize this a little bit, but I had an amazing conversation with a potential client partner who wants to be doing more live events, and live events just like this, frankly, just like we're doing here. And what he has observed in his industry is that it was already headed in this way. It was headed toward digitization. There's no question about that. In his particular space, it's related to the film industry. But by our own estimates in our conversation, our little brainstorm yesterday, it would have probably taken at least another 10 years to see the progress that's been made in digitization in the last 2 months. That's insane. 10 years of anticipated progress in 2 months of real-time life. I mean, Kyle, we're seeing this everywhere. That's the film industry. I can't tell you exactly what the subject matter is, but it was a really profound conversation, and I'm sure you're seeing this too in areas where you're working.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think that industry is, media has been an interesting one. And the other is that over the last couple of weeks has been, as we've been experiencing even with Digitized, has been the influx of events and event companies. So think of anybody responsible for gathering people in physical spaces together are going through a massive upheaval. And it's starting to, what was interesting at first, there was some of the smaller companies are just looking for the opportunity. Now what's happening with the larger companies is, as they've gone through the really meaty task of furlough or downsizing or needing to restructure or reformat how they start to thrive and survive during these times, has been how do they now still continue to engage with onboarding customers? How do they continue to engage with their partners? And how do they continue to build momentum with their employees? And so what's been very interesting is that agencies like advertising agencies, event companies, who are all responsible for producing events or producing experiences for their service clients, have been reaching out to us for tips and tricks, or even for partnership, as we've gone into some pretty interesting proposals for larger companies that are needing to figure out how to navigate, how they continue to maintain momentum. But the other thing that's really interesting is there's a click that's happening, the switch is happening, where they're realizing, wow, I'm not just limited to one geography anymore. I'm not just limited to people from around the world coming to a destination and needing to manage and contain everybody in one physical destination. Now it's saying, wow, we could open this up based on the crazy people that want to get up early or late based on your time zones. We could actually start to invite people from all over the world, which is actually increasing numbers. It's actually expanding impact. So a huge one for us is seeing the massive changes that not just the event industry is going through, but the companies that support event companies like ad agencies, and then the companies themselves that have to maintain connectivity for their ability to keep their business open, to make connection to their partnership. And all of them now are having, it's not just the digital transformation, which was like, how do I move to cloud-based computing systems, or create tools or functionality for my workforce to be able to share data or collaborate on project-based data in the cloud, which is a lot of what digital transformation has used to be about. Now digital transformation is really turning into, what is the digital version of my company? What is the digital version of me getting access to my customers and markets and the rest of the world? Yeah. Any thoughts on that, Ken?
A couple. One is absolutely 100% yes. I'm starting to think outside whatever geographic box you live in. I'll use the Zumba teacher example again. I think I may have brought this up before, but it's a powerful one. I was helping someone learn how to just provide better audio downstream to their virtual class attendees for it was Zumba instruction, and I was just doing this to help. And the thing that has happened is the next conversation I had was, well, how many students do you have? And they told me. I said, well, where are they? And they're all right here in town, because it was literally a one-to-one mapping of who was coming to their physical studio and then showing up in class. And I said, well, that doesn't make any sense. Who do you know in other countries or other cities or other places that might enjoy your class? Why don't you just call them up and give them a free class or two? Give them a 3-class coupon, right? And next thing I know, I'm watching over my wife's shoulder, and there are people from Japan and Latin America, and never could this particular instructor have taught those people previously. Wouldn't even have occurred to them. And check it out. All they did was map. They already had a subscription program for their classes. They just mapped that over. And now it's a digital subscription to YouTube. They've come up with ways for YouTube and Facebook and live streaming. And they keep the things live for a certain amount of time. There's a whole bunch of stuff that they've come up with. It's really innovative. And I'm really proud of them because that's a pure digitization of a physical business. The other thing I would say is when you start to take a look, if you find out that your business can't go this way, you may be hearing some background music. That is my children. Those are my children who are a little bit on fire.
The digitized life.
Oh, yeah, they're on fire today, so you may hear a lot more. So I'm sorry about that. There's not a thing in the world I can do, but we'll just roll with it. But it's the companies that find out that they can't do this. Okay, what if you really literally have a physical thing that you have to do? What are you going to do? And so I've been having these conversations with a couple of folks, and really, I mean, the answers are harder because you have capital investments, you might have a plant, you might have people who have to come in, and you're going to have to start to respect all the new needs around social distancing and thing, until we have potentially a vaccine for COVID-19. That is just life. So, but they're also adopting the very same things for the running of their company. So even if they believe there's no thing in their company they can digitize to do whatever it is they do, it's just turning out not to be true when you dig in.
Absolutely. There's, one of the things that I wanted to address, we were chatting about a little bit before, is the demonstration right now of how a world is using digital platforms to come together, to speak up and speak out on massive issues, of course, that are going on. There's several things. There's actually one thing that I'm actually quite fascinated about is going to be the sense, depending on how long we are still staying in a sheltered place, is going to be things like local elections and major elections as well. Like, how do we start to manage being able to make massive critical decisions as a society? But one of the things that's showing up right now, I think, is the usage of bringing people together to be able to speak out or to align or coordinate around a particularly massive shared message. And I think there's a forcing function that's going up that we could learn. Of course, there's massive things that we all need to have a very strong opinion on right now in terms of how we are shaping the future of our society and our world. And we all got to step up and really lean into it. And we can use, what's interesting here, this is one of the moments where you can use your digital version of yourself, your digital voice, your digital platform, your social platform, which is all a digitization of a group of people coming together, your message, your documentation, your ability to speak in a camera like this, record and put yourself out and have people from all around the world, what's your messaging? It's fascinating to me right now where when you have another massive forcing function, like a real important message or topic that we need to coordinate around as a society, and how do you do that while you're needing to stay in your homes? The only way to do it is by stepping into a digital world. The only way to do it is by leaning into the ability to create the power of a network effect, which comes through digitizing yourself and your business. And it's fascinating to me as I've watched leading into this program, just sitting back going, this is incredible. Like, all the people that I enjoy following, all the companies that I really enjoy looking at, the research that I get to do. I just saw some things this morning on the news around how other countries are now starting to mobilize around a shared messaging of what's happening in the US right now. But what's interesting is they're using the social platform. They're using the ability to step outside of only a fixed media channel or a fixed perspective from a certain leader that only uses certain moments to speak about things. Now the messaging is out. People are capturing and documenting and filming and building perspectives of this. All of this is the digitization of our history. It's the digitization of critical moments in our lives right now. And so what I find fascinating is as we are all using these moments to lean in, always be mindful of asking yourself at the same time, what am I learning here? What am I learning by which it's helping me to make the bridge? Because you and I have talked a lot in our season 1 and 2. How do you help people make the bridge from analog to digital? How do you realize the long-term value benefits of digitizing yourself and your business? Things like right now, you should be paying attention and looking to see the amount of access, the amount of freedom that you almost have to be able to get your message out, or get your product out, or get whatever it is you're trying to impact in the world, to get that out through a digital medium. So any thoughts on that, Kent, about this pivot to
Oh,
digital?
man, I mean, I think you're getting to the root of why I do what I do. In a case like this, I mean, you know, Kyle, and many people may remember that what we call our massive transformative purpose is to empower people with technology. I've been trying to do this for a very long time, and been successful in cases and unsuccessful in cases. But what we have now is this moment in time is forcing such rapid innovation on the tool sets. I mean, before you had kind of Skype and Zoom, but now I can tell you there has been a Cambrian explosion of new tools, new releases of old tools, new types of ways to interact and connect and collaborate. The thing that we're going to do in just a little bit is an example of that. It's a tool I've been using for years. But the amount of innovation that they're plowing into that tool in this moment, I don't like to use sort of analogies for war too much, but in wartime, money gets spent. A lot of money gets spent, and it drives innovation and technology. Okay, well, this is kind of a moment where, in a way, we're at war with our own society and with a virus. And again, I'll stop with the war analogies there. But the point is that it is driving massive amounts of money. I mean, huge amounts of money that's driving incredible amounts of innovation in every single tool you can think of that you've ever touched or used. And there will be 10 for every one over the next few months that come on and iterate on how things work. And I mean, I'm experiencing that on a daily basis. The quantity, quality, and volume of release notes for every piece of software I use. I mean, I'm telling you, it's almost every day now something updates, and this is a blessing and a curse. You like things to be stable to a degree, but you know what? Also, some of these features that I'm getting in these tools that I've been using forever are incredible, and that's happening. So it's this concept of having a black swan event as a forcing function to technology, innovation as adaptation to the needs of our society by people and companies. It's just what's happening, and you got to get on. You got to reach on and sort of grab the wave and go.
Absolutely. And so many of the tools of how to do that will be in season 1 and season 2. The videos that are all down below, there must be 40, 50 different sound bites there that we've been getting together over the last 10 weeks, 10 or 12 weeks, just sharing all of the different tools, techniques, ways to think about it, things to manage. So a lot of that content is there. So you can go back and refresh if this is your moment, if this is your time, if this is where you're really understanding the power, and you're also feeling the gap between where you are from understanding digital, transformation for yourself versus where you want to be. There's a ton of content there. But Kent, maybe this is a great moment to actually play with that exercise, and we can actually continue the discussion, but continue the discussion in a live creative exercise, which will be a new one for us.
So this is fun. One of the things we're committed to doing on this show is teaching you how to do things sometimes like we do, to take to your clients, to take to your companies, to use in any way you see fit. And so this is an experiment. I've created what's called a new shot with some live screen sharing. So we're going to see if this works out. So what you're about to be introduced to is a tool that Kyle and I both use probably on a daily basis in our communications with our teams, with each other, with customers that we may work with, especially now remotely. And this is an example of one of those tools that have doubled or tripled down on their innovation. And by the way, this is not a paid thing at all. I pay to use these tools. I have been for a long time. If they see this and they call us and want to give us something, that'd be great. But it is in no way a sponsored situation. We talk about these tools because we use them, and I want that to be very clear. So I'm going to switch over now, Kyle, to a different shot. And by the way, I did get us live on Facebook. So hi, Facebook. If you're out there, it's great to see you again. Give us a like and a share. We would be super appreciative of that. And here it comes. Without further ado, look at that. All right. So what you're seeing is, again, Kent and Kyle in demo mode. And behind us, we have a tool that we use on a daily basis called Miro. You can check it out. It's Miro.com. And I've just gone into my account, and we're in the new board creation setup. And so what Kyle and I thought to do today was use one of their pre-built templates called a mind map. And we're going to start it out blank. And we're going to take a shot at this. So watch this as we go through. I'm going to add a blank board with a blank mind map. And I'm going to share this with Kyle. So let's see. Digitized, yeah, that's a totally different show. So Digitized mind map, save, and let's see. I want to. Well, Kyle, I'm going to put your email address in there. Sorry, there's no way for me to blank that out at the moment. But here we go, and let's see if I can do that and send invitations. All right, so Kyle has now been invited to the Miro board. And I believe he will be able to come in and at the very least follow along. It's telling me that only members of my team can edit boards. That's because this particular instance of this software belongs to another organization. So that we'll just have to deal with that, Kyle. And I'm not going to sign up for anything new right now. Hopefully you got that in your email.
Not yet, but I'm keeping an eye.
Okay. So we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping it works because I really want to show you these some of the new features where the viewers of your board can follow along. So let me try one more time. Anyone with link? Let me try this. Copy the link. I'm going to WhatsApp you the link, Kyle, on the back channel. We use WhatsApp as our back channel for a lot of our shows. It works out pretty good. So give that a click.
You do not have permissions to view this board. Requesting access.
There you go. This is what happens when you try to do something live. So I'm just going to proxy for you, Kyle, so we don't have to play around with that too much.
Absolutely,
right now.
No problem.
Digitized. Okay. So we're going to think, and why don't you start us out with this, Kyle, because you had the idea earlier. So I've got us with digitized in the middle. Where do you want to go from here?
Yeah, so one of the things to be thinking about here, this is what is known as either a disruption map or an implications wheel, where you start to look at, or a mind map is another way to think about it. In Miro, this will probably be under the category of mind map, where what you're looking to do is see where the disruptions can come from out of this. And so one of the things that we had to say, let's just like digitizing business. So let's put a couple in there already. So one of them could be fitness clubs or athletics, like digitizing business. We could say fitness clubs. One of the others that we could say out of business. So what we're looking at here is what's the implication of digitizing a business or digitizing a fitness club? What's one of the things that, fall out of that? Well, for a business, one of those things is that you might actually increase your global footprint of customers, just the same way that Amazon's been successful or any online retailer's been successful, that they, as soon as they can obviously bridge boundaries and taxation and distribution, a business nowadays online isn't just beholden to one place. Yes, it may be registered as a San Francisco business, or it may be somewhere else, but we can shop from all over the place. Like here's a perfect example. Like as a South African, I was raised on something called Marmite. For anybody that knows what Marmite is, It's not everybody's. You either like it or you don't like it. But one of the things that we couldn't find it here, but we get it out of London, and there's a store online that sells it out of London. So digitizing their business, I can actually still go visit that local store that I was doing when living in London, and I can have that here. So that's one way of like being able to expand, digitizing your products, getting access to more people. those would be some to start. If we go to the fitness club, it's a similar thing. Fitness club, you were just mentioning, you suddenly cater to a global audience. The other is that maybe what allows you to do in a fitness club is you don't even have to be live. Maybe you could run multiple events at the same time, which is pre-record your session. People can still jump on and work out with you, but they may not know that it's pre-recorded. You could actually maybe be running 10 classes at the same time rather than just one. You could actually dimensionalize your business. So those are a couple that kind of come to mind straight off the bat. So Kent, what's another thing? We talked about something else, right? The events. We talked about, the thing is like remote workforce could be another. So what are something that comes to mind for you?
I have that here. So hey, try that link again, Kyle. I made a change while you were talking. And then up here under business, this is an attribute of a model called the EXO model, or exponential organizations. And oh look, Kyle's here now. So there he is. And Kyle, if you just move your cursor down here, it's kind of interesting. And if I click Kyle, by the way, I can kind of make him watch what I want to watch. And there's also these really interesting new features called Force Follow. Everybody will see what I see on their screen, which is going to be difficult to demo because you have to see Kyle's screen too, which is not going to happen on this broadcast. But back to Staff on Demand. The idea with Staff on Demand is that you can grow your business with remote staff, and there are some unique attributes to Staff on Demand as implemented in EXO model versus traditional outsourcing or just remote staffing. And it has to do, for me, the most important thing is how you actually treat the employees. You will not consider someone Staff on Demand, irregardless of whether they're on a W-2 in the U.S. or as a contractor of any flavor. You're just really not going to draw any lines there. Staff is staff. They work for the company. They don't work for the company. They're part-time. They're full-time. It really doesn't matter. And you start to, most importantly, accept the fact that the people who work for you may not only work for you. This is profound for a lot of companies. They're quite used to having the exclusive access to one particular human being as this person called an employee. Well, that's just not the case anymore. And this is going to happen even to the largest companies like, for example, Facebook or Twitter, who have announced that they're having remote work forever. Right? They've said that. Just don't come back. Stay home. In some cases, you'll start to see them downsizing their offices. But what they are not going to be able to do anymore is monitor that person is only working on Facebook. So you're going to see an explosion of side hustles as well that are going to happen here. And it's actually not a bad thing, because many times those side hustles will become partnership opportunities for the original parent company of that employee, if you like. So there's so many opportunities. And that's what you're experiencing right now is Kyle and Kent doing a live mind mapping session, brainstorming, and we just had a conversation about Staff on Demand that I certainly didn't premeditate for this particular session. So, Kyle, that's one of the things that I think of right away. So when we think about digitization, there's business, there's fitness, and there's something over here I think is an absolutely fascinating subject, leadership, and then there's yourself. And these two things can go hand in hand. But what does it mean, Kyle, to run a digitized business where all of a sudden you've sent your 100,000 employees or something home forever?
Yeah, for leadership, we actually just gave a keynote this morning on this, which was around the concept of critical decision making during moving to remote workforce. We're actually on something tomorrow around that as well, which is the changing workforce requires a different legacy of leadership. I think one of the most important things for leadership right now is that leaders have to get to understand the medium. Yes, they've got teams around them, they've got comms team and IT teams, but there's something else about the same way that any leader is trained to go and stand in front of an audience and speak to its various stakeholders. Some meetings might be board of directors, some might be the street or investors, some might be going to stores to motivate field teams, others are going and standing with your VP and above or your general employee meetings. Like, they're different audiences and they show up differently based on those rooms and environments. One of the things for leaders to be able to model the right empathy and the right rapport and the right energy and the right necessity and purpose, and actually to show up as a leader that people feel inspired by, is to be able to digitize, like to get really connected to the content, like the environment, right? These types of environments, and understanding this medium. Like I would imagine the digitization leaders are going to need to probably figure out social platforms and internal social platforms, and how to speak to networks, and how to put out messaging that is clear and concise and to the point and repeatable. And we also, leaders also have to figure out, how do you establish autonomy or agreements in a digital environment that allows them to be able to trust their workforce that they're going to be doing the right thing. And how do you put accountability on a workforce, just like Ken said, like that we don't spend 40% of our time on something and 60% of the time of a high side hustle, that people show up even more committed to their work with the freedoms and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I think that leadership, there's it's such a huge, like leadership and communication, I think with the digitization of business are two massive areas that we have to think of new strategies and toolkits and learnings. Because although we can borrow the same principles, I think people had the format of a physical letter or a physical email or notifications around the office in the hallways to be able to keep, or the fact that you could bring everybody to a centralized container, the office or the working environment. Now, how do I, working for a company, feel inspired to maybe create the decor or put things up in my office, my home office, and work with this environment that would inspire me to show up with the same level of enthusiasm and accountability and self accountability to want to lead and thrive in that market. So I think leaders have got to have a big task ahead of them to understand this and navigate this environment. And I don't think that all the same leadership principles are going to apply. I think new things are going to show up. I think they already are.
No question. And so look what just happened. Look what happened to our mind map. It just exploded. So I was just kind of picking out some key words as you were going along there and trying to slot them in and adding what I was thinking about while you were talking. And you can do the same thing now that I'm talking. So if I dig into communications and I want to talk about facilitation, Kyle, you and I both facilitate probably dozens of meetings a week. And the fact is that facilitation is a science. There's some science to it, but it's also an art form, and you have to be really empathetic. How do you pick up on social cues like somebody's tired over a Zoom call when they've got their camera off? What? I mean, how is that even possible? Right? So, but you learn about people's communication cadence. You learn about the people over time that you're working with. You get to see, what does it even mean when somebody turns their camera off and on? That's actually a social cue in a digital environment. Well, what does it mean when they mute themselves versus get muted by the speaker? You become attuned to all these things when you're facilitating digital meetings. I have clients that I've been working for over in some cases 3 or 4 years, where we've been 99% remote for the duration. They speak a different primary language. They're in a different country. And I show up every single week to facilitate that meeting from wherever I may be. I have personally facilitated that meeting from probably a dozen different locations in the world because it's a standing weekly meeting I've been doing for years. I do it no matter where I am. It's a promise. And this is really important as well. The promises you make people in this world, in this environment, are more important than they've ever been before. If you tell someone you're going to show up, you need to do it, because the human mind has a really annoying trait, Kyle, and you know this very well. In the absence of information, it inserts bad stuff. So, I mean, every time, if I don't tell you that I like you this week, and I'm clear that I'm not mad at you about some horrible WhatsApp message I wrote, then your brain, whether you want it to or not, even though you know better, it's gonna be, oh gosh, I wonder it's just this crazy thing that happens, and so this requires actually a much deeper commitment to building relationships than you've ever experienced before. And oftentimes a bit more vulnerability and openness in those relationships. You have to tell people things, or they just don't know, because they're not going to necessarily see it on you, especially if you've got a good actor face. I don't have good actor
Mm-hmm.
face. Everyone always knows exactly how I feel, on camera or off. But I've just had to learn to live with that. But the reality is, there's literally all you really have to become digitally empathetic. Is that a thing? I don't even know. But
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I think it is a thing.
yeah.
I think it's probably one of the most important things right now. I was talking this morning to I don't know, a group of almost 200 people around the concept of discount revenge, which means that
Oh,
if person A says something to person B, but person B assumes a context but doesn't clarify the context, they may, and they assume a negative context from person A, they will, whether it's a minute, hour, day, week, month, year, they will come back around and revenge on it. It's a human nature, which is to protect ourselves. We feel like we have to dish back what we presume we've just been dished, and it's actually a systemic thing that's a real problem, which you can see on social around trolling and negative comments and people's self-esteem, which is a massive issue within society
yeah.
itself when it comes to
I'll name this
when
mind
it
map "Reap What You Sow" after this part of the conversation.
Yeah, so I think that what's interesting with this one. Oh, and here's another thing. So let's just say we're having these conversations. What's kind of cool with this bar over here is I could grab, I know we're doing some selection, but I could grab a sticky note and make, what you're just doing is that I could actually make like
Yeah,
let's just say, let's just say hey, reminder here, or there was a build, or set something. Let's just say leadership, like let's just call it priority, um, right over here, which is really interesting to be able to grab something or make some connections to this, which is really fun. And then I think you can do it with this one too, where you can assign some. You can assign, can you do it on this one? I'm not sure whether you can assign a task to somebody. I know you can on the post-it notes, but what's kind of cool with this is that once you have this mind map, we could open this to other folk. They could come and build on it, or they could, um,
we can
uh,
try. We, you know what, we could.
somebody's probably going to yell at me about spelling. So there we go.
It's okay. Yeah, that's another thing, right? You've got to be a little more tolerant. You don't want to get editorialized, live. But
Mhm.
the reality is, I can take this link. You know what? I have no idea if whoever's going to want to do this or not. But I'll take this link, and I'll post it in the YouTube show notes. And so, if anybody wants to go there and click on this link, this is an open board. Anybody with the link can edit. Hope you'll keep it clean. If not, I'll delete it. But the reality is, if you want to come in here and add to this mind map that you've seen us create using this really cool tool that we use many times. This is literally, we showed you the tip of the spear here with Miro. It's unbelievable what you can do. It's effectively a whiteboard of unlimited size. And some of the more advanced features involve things like frames, where you could take this reap what you sow mind map and put it in a frame, and then you can create another frame over here, and we call that the how to revenge after how to revenge effectively, right, Kyle? We might as well go ahead and teach people that if they're going to do it anyway.
Oh my God, no.
Right, and then what happens is now you can use these steps over here to zoom in to the different frames as you go along. I use this all the time for really big mural boards. They're effectively slides, and it's really powerful because you can zoom in here to the thing, and then we can go in and we can talk about contextual awareness. And as
Mhm.
I've told everybody before, if you come up here and click bring everyone to me, then what's happening is now anyone who's watching this is going to get dragged along with me from slide to slide. So this is reminiscent of a tool called what's that presentation tool? No, it starts with a P. Present Prezi. Prezi. This is a little bit reminiscent of how you build Prezis. once you start getting into the use of frames as slides, but it is infinitely more useful in many ways, in my opinion, than Prezi is. Although Prezi does have a new feature called Prezi Video, which allows you to turn your entire Prezi presentation into an overlay on a live video stream, which was very effectively used by a speaker at a recent event on biotechnology. A gentleman named Raymond McCauley, who we work with a little bit at Digitized. So anyway, that's kind of what's going on, folks. Absolutely love it. I'm going to cut us back to the regular shot, Kyle. And, I think what we just did, everybody, and if you like this, you need to let us know, was we wanted to come up with a way in order to do Kent and Kyle at the same time, tooltips, if you like, but live, like really live. And that means it's going to be bumpy sometimes. It means we're not always going to get it right. It means sometimes permissions won't work, but at least you get to see what it's really like to bring these tools online. Everything you just saw was done in real time, and that's actually super cool. So without that, we'll cut back over here to the standard shot, and we're at about time. So it's time for us to try to wind it down.
So one of the things here, as Kent was mentioning, that tool, along with others, and we'll focus on some others along the way, is something that we use on a daily basis. We've used it over the last couple of days. Kent uses it every day. We use it every day. There are so many interesting ways to go. It's also very effective. That, of course, this is a whole different level because it's live on a desktop. It's being streamed into a thing. It's being produced and projected all over the place, which is great. But if you are running standard Zoom meetings or webcast meetings or Skype for Business or WebEx or any of those things, and you can share a screen, it's actually very interesting that if you send that link to your intact team or a broader global team, you can all navigate into that board while still running your meeting. So what it becomes is a credible like physical space. So for anybody out there that was very used to going to boardrooms and getting out the whiteboard and the flip charts and the post-it notes and sketching and drawing and writing, that tool is very powerful for that. And it's the learning curve in terms of running your digital meetings and having that in the background. And as any facilitators watching, it's actually a very powerful and very highly interactive way. And the learning curve for even a completely non-digitally native person who may have never been on Zoom and also never logged into Miro, the learning curve is less than 5 to 10 minutes for them to get ready. So highly recommend it. It's super fun. They're investing a lot of energy and money and resources into it on a daily basis to make it work even better, because it's one of those tools, like many, there are a whole bunch of those tools, but somebody always has to be a winner during these times. And Miro is definitely one of those that is kind of coming out on top. So get on it, try it out. It's pretty cool. It's also pretty affordable.
Kyle, I want to show one more thing. I forgot. I could have showed this. I'm not endorsing this particular framework, but this is a very complex Miro board that I wanted to show you. It's the ecosystem canvas. It's the platform canvas toolkit, and this really shows you just how deep this sort of thing can get as you go along. And I'll stop at that. But you can see in the background you've got the underlaid templates, canvases, tools, and then these are all filled in with sticky notes. So you can see here, whomever did this board bracketed these little stickies live, probably at some point. And you can just go and go. I mean, this is a particularly, and they were probably you're running a live workshop, so they're just like literally, sketching on this thing and checking that off. I mean, this toolkit takes forever to get your head around entirely, but you can just see how powerful this is. And if you zoom all the way out, by going, I think like this, then you can see the entire toolkit in one big shot. So no more time on that today, but I think just showing that more complete, really large example probably makes a lot of sense. So yeah, exactly what Kyle said. Very powerful.
Yeah, super helpful. Those are great canvases as well. Great canvases. So there's so many ways to go. So a couple things that we covered, recapping real fast, is that there's this amazing tool, a digital tool for collaborative tools. So there's got that. Please go and try that. The other is that the content within that tool, what we were talking about, is keep thinking about how you can digitize your own business and how you can contribute to stepping into the digital society and contributing to the very important things that are going on in the world right now. And then the other is that, this is about unlocking your digital potential. And so keep looking back at the content that we're producing, week on week, and the things that have been there before. Very powerful, very helpful for you as you are onboarding. And as Kent mentioned at the beginning of the program, we'll use this platform and these shows to continue bringing the latest tools and techniques and spotlight a particular type of technology that we know is working really well for us and our clients and people around us. So thank you again for tuning in. I'll hand it back over to Ken. It's great to see you all on Twitch and Facebook and Periscope and YouTube and our website and all these different mediums. And please keep sending us your feedback. Please keep liking. Please keep sharing. And if you're getting any nuggets of wisdom, what was like, if you're willing to share with us, what was one really big insight or takeaway that you got from this session today? We would love to hear what you're going to go and action on something that you learned here today. Thanks, Ken. I'll hand it back to you.
Absolutely. And as always, Kyle, my co-host for Digitized Live, thank you. And the fact is that we continue to see an increased number of subscribers. We're seeing a lot of increased forum activity, especially on YouTube, a little bit on Twitter and Facebook. I personally or you have answered every single post to date. We're going to keep doing that as long as possible. And, so please do take that time to connect with us, to like, to subscribe. We really appreciate it. And if there's a specific tool that maybe we haven't heard of, we would love to hear about it. I mean, literally, there must be 1,000 new things a day. We're not going to see them all. So we would love to get it on the queue, try it out, maybe run it live like this. But beyond that, I just want to wish everybody a very, very fine rest of your day, wherever you may be. And as Kyle often says to me, I will pay it forward to all of our viewers and anyone out there we've been working with. We appreciate you. And we can't wait to see you again next week.